Greetings, knowledge seekers. The Force is with you, and a happy May the 4th, 2022. Today, we're going to do a review of the lightsabers we picked up from Galaxy's Edge, the ones that we built at Savi's workshop. So if you haven't seen the entire Savi's workshop lightsaber building experience, check out this link up here. Jade and I both built one each, and she chose a style of peace and justice, and this one is the one that she made. And I built one that is of the power and control style, and this is the one. Now, as you can see, the blades are removable, and it's this proprietary style that works with all the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers. It has a mechanism that allows you to twist and lock it into place. No need for a thumb screw. These blades are not only compatible with the lightsabers from Savi's workshop, but work with the Galaxy's Edge legacy lightsabers that are movie replicas as well. Now, they don't work with the Disney Parks lightsabers, which I believe they already phased out, if I'm not mistaken. And they won't work with the Hasbro Force FX lightsabers or any of the third-party lightsabers out there. And the way it ignites, it has 4 sections. It's not high resolution. You see like 4 parts of the blade section out. So unlike NeoPixel lightsabers where you see every little pixel ignite, it's a section. So I have my NeoPixel over here, and just to show you a comparison of what they look like. And as you can tell, this one's brighter, but we'll talk about that a little later. There's no fancy electronics in this blade. When you're using the Savi's workshop lightsabers, the color will always match whatever KYBER crystal you have installed in there, which is the one you pick at the shop or ones that you can buy afterwards and put in there. If you have a legacy lightsaber, that means that the blade will match whatever lightsaber it is. If you have a Darth Vader lightsaber, it'll be red. If you have Ahsoka, you can actually color change between blue and green. But as far as having controls to change it, it doesn't really have any of that. However, I will mention there is an Etsy vendor named J Moose Playground who actually does a real NeoPixel build that is compatible with Savi's lightsabers. It has its own battery and its own chip. I'll leave you a link down below. They sell limited quantities, and the blade costs a little more than a Savi's lightsaber. And they have it set for $10,000, but people who've bought it said that it costs somewhere under $300 to have a real NeoPixel with their Savi's workshop lightsaber. Now, like I mentioned, the KYBER crystal inside the Savi's lightsaber determines the color of the blade, and we can actually still open this up. We built it at Disney, at Batu, at Galaxy's Edge, but we can actually still open it up so that we can access the inner KYBER crystal. And when the switch covers are off, you can see that the KYBER crystal is illuminated. And you can see a green crystal in there, which is why I have a green blade. Now, I went ahead and purchased additional KYBER crystals after the experience, and we can actually change the colors of the blade. I got all the colors, and the reason why I got all the colors is because at Disney, it's actually cheaper than buying these online. So if I wanted to change this to a red one, we'll remove the crystal, then we'll seat the red KYBER crystal in there. And these KYBER crystals aren't just for the lightsabers, they work with the holocrons that you can buy. Okay, now let's put this on. Now we have a red lightsaber. Now, the way the crystals work is there's actually a chip inside the crystals that emits a radio signal that tells the lightsaber core exactly what color is installed on it. And I've seen videos where people actually change the frequency of the crystal to command a different color, which could probably save you $100. But I like having each one of the crystals. I think it's fun to have the whole set. Now the thing about these blades is they're not the most durable. They're not a heavy grade blade like how some NeoPixels or baselit blades are. They are equivalent to the thin type of blade. You know, you could do some light dueling with it, but it's not recommended to go heavy dueling or dropping it. So just be very careful with these. I heard they could be as low as 40 bucks if you buy them at Disney. The price might have gone up since then. And I've seen them up to $80. I think that's the price I saw on Amazon. But they are replaceable, so if you break your blade, it's not the end of the world. Now the thing about the Disney blades and generally any of the licensed lightsabers, while their brightness may vary, they're actually some of the least brightest ones that you see on the market. While they use string blade technology that's even through the blade and it's an RGB, they can be dimmer than some baselit lightsabers. Here's how it compares to my 2005 Darth Vader Master Replica blade. Here's how it compares to my baselit lightsaber. Here's how it compares to the same lightsaber but with a photon blade. Here's how it compares to Jade's engagement saber with the magenta color. And here's how it compares to a NeoPixel. Now let's talk about the hilts. The hilts are all metal. Now, none of it is polished, so some people might mistake this for being plastic, but they're actually pretty heavy. They can be up to 2.5 pounds. Usually a lightsaber hilt is somewhere around the ballpark of just over a pound. This is a pretty heavy lightsaber to carry and to swing around. In fact, when I tried to actually spin it, I had to keep my hand so low on the grip because the center of balance is actually farther back on this lightsaber and it's hard to spin. And that's just the nature of the hilt because it actually involves having a core and you build parts around it. Now, some people have said that it's kind of hard to use this on a belt clip, but on a cover tech, it didn't bother me too much because it keeps it close to you. It's when you're using the D-ring and it's swinging around and it might swing around and hit you in the lightsaber. Now, when we went to Savi's workshop, it was back in February, and just in January, there were reports that the parts for the lightsabers were in low stock and they weren't providing all of them, and that they were sending people off with plastic bags versus the full case that it usually comes with. Lucky for us, they had just resupplied all the parts and the case, so we had everything available for the experience. And before we went, I actually asked customer service about that, and they said, hey, you're paying for the experience, you're not paying for specifically the bag, even though the carry case is advertised in the description. But no complaints for our visit because we had everything. The only thing they didn't do was they didn't allow us to buy additional parts. You see, the way it works at Savi's workshop is you make a reservation months ahead of time. And then once you get there, they ask you what style of blade you want to pick. You pick from one of 4 styles because that determines the type of parts they're gonna send to you. You're not gonna be picking from all the parts, you're just gonna pick from a series of parts. Power and Control is based on a Sith style, and Peace and Justice is based on a Jedi style. The other 2 styles are Element and Nature, which is a more organic look, and there's Protection and Defense. Now, when they have you choose your style, they give you these collectible pendants. Here is Power and Control, and here is the Peace and Justice one. When you have a lightsaber, it's customized to the parts that you're given. The parts is basically the core, which is the inside, the emitter, the sleeve, the switch, the grip, and the pommel. For each one of these parts, except for the core, you have a choice of 2 options. So this is a combination of picking 2 options of each saber part. And your options are only within the saber style that you have. It's not to say that these parts aren't interchangeable, but I think some of them aren't. And the cool thing is that the grip and the sleeve are actually interchangeable. You can switch the grip for the sleeve if you want to change up your lightsaber. And even though you put it together, you can still take the lightsaber apart. I chose the Switch because it had that Darth Vader look to it. But what I hated about it is when I swing it, it's really easy to turn off. So I went on eBay and I looked for the other power and control switch. Power and control switch sounds technical. And I had actually replaced the switch. Now you get to see what the core looks like. And this is why the lightsaber is so big, because the core is about as big as a LG saber. Here's how that compares. So here's my original switch. And here's the other switch that I got from eBay, which is a lower profile switch. So let's put this together. Put the pommel back. And in case you're wondering, the reason why I chose this specific pommel is because the emitter already has a D-ring if I wanted to do a clip to hold the lightsaber, but this pommel has the KYBER wheel, which allows me to put it on a belt clip if I ever want to carry this around, like that. So now I have a lower profile switch, which is harder to hit. In fact, it's even harder to switch on. This one is a little soft. Now, some people like to actually collect all the parts so they have the entire style that they can use to switch your parts in and out. I might actually consider that for mine, just trace on eBay anyone who's selling the parts. Now, as far as the quality goes, I like that on mine, the threading lines up. If you look, the KYBER wheel lines up symmetrically on the center line of the hilt. But I did find a little issue with Jade's grip. The fact that the threading on her grip seems to go loose if you twist too hard. See, I'm at full tightness there, but if I just take it a little much, it comes right back off. So not all the parts are built 100% the same. These are probably the biggest and thickest lightsaber hilts I've seen. Once again, here's how it compares to my LG saber. And here's how it compares to my Darth Vader saber, which is considered a big saber. It's about comparable from the grip area, but it gets skinnier as it goes down on the Vader saber. Each style has a different sound to them. Now, as you can see, the smooth swing isn't very sensitive, and also the clash, it takes a little bit of a hit before you hear the clash. It's not as elegant as, say, a NeoPixel. And you even have other effects. Now, as a standalone lightsaber, these might be a little expensive for how they look and how they feel. But the idea of this is the experience. And when you're there, it's a completely different experience. Like for me, it felt spiritual. I know it's a goofy way to say it, but it was something where I felt like I was immersed in my imagination of building a real lightsaber. And you walk out of there with a lightsaber that is fit to your personality. Mine's a little dark, but with a green blade. The reason why I chose the green KYBER crystal is because I knew that these blades aren't that bright, but in the dark, green is the brightest color. Jade went for a more classic light side look, which fits her personality, and she went with a blue blade. Now, how much is the experience? The experience was about $220. It went up in price since during the pandemic. And that's about the price of a legacy lightsaber if you were to go to the shop and pick one up. However, like I said, you're paying for the experience. But yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, I highly recommend this experience. I'm actually glad I went, and I could see myself maybe doing it one more time, but also experiencing it with a friend, have them go and build their own lightsaber. In fact, the person who was hosting the building, I really liked how his character was. I wish I could hire him as our officiant for our wedding.
Please raise your lights. lightsabers high. You have built a lightsaber like the Jedi and Sith that came before you.
Which, by the way, I'm gonna put this out there. It's May the 4th. Our wedding is on May the 4th, 2024. I'm not looking for a DJ. I'm looking for somebody who's articulate in the ways of the Force to be the officiant. So I'm just gonna put this out there, all right? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully one day you get to build your own lightsaber at Savi's workshop. If you wanna see the entire experience from start to finish, check out my video right here. Really appreciate you for watching. Happy May the 4th. The Force is with you always.